What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Leo coming to you guys with yet another video. So, Raw is in the books of the first Raw on Netflix, and there was something that I wanted to talk about that really stuck out to me. I'm gonna make a numerous amount of videos over some different things that happened on Raw, but the first thing I want to talk about is the Women's World Championship match that happened last night between Liv Morgan, the former Women's World Champion, against the new Women's World Champion, Rhea Ripley. Now, I think a lot of fans, and myself included, all kind of thought that this was going to be the end goal for this feud. And I think for a lot of people, I think the feud has kind of ran its course and they've done everything that they can do, potentially. Um, Now, I am probably going to be in the minority of thinking that there's something else that could potentially happen, but it's more likely not going to. But I'm willing to be surprised and nonetheless. But I want to talk about what's really next for Liv Morgan. Now, this might come off as a rant or whatever the case is, and I'm gonna make a quick disclaimer. This is not anything against Rhea Ripley or anything like that. I'm a fan of Rhea Ripley. I do like Rhea Ripley. She's one of the very best in WWE, not in just the women's division, but in the entire company. I can understand the popularity aspect. The booking I can is a little questionable sometimes, just because they book her to be a complete dominant force where there's nobody that can really stand toe to toe with her and really get the upper hand. But this is nothing against her or anybody that's a fan of her. I am not trying to bash her or anything like that. This video is strictly about what I think could be next for Liv Morgan, and I might tie in some stuff with Rhea as well. So be on the lookout for that as well. But Liv Morgan had a great run. 227 days, I believe, as women's champion, which was good. However, I don't think she would have had a long, lengthy reign if Rhea never got injured. I don't even really think they would have even given her the belt if Rhea didn't get injured. I don't really know. I think Liv should have been the one to defeat Rhea, if we want to be honest, because she's pretty at that point she went through everybody. And the thing that with Rhea Ripley I'm not a fan of, like I said, it's her booking. Like, you have someone like Liv Morgan who is continuing to try to build her stock and continuing to elevate herself week after week. She's getting better, she's getting more over in the sense of being a heel, and fans are buying into it. Now, I think the one thing people, will say about Liv Morgan, maybe is her booking. Like, they book her as a champion where she just can't win on her own. Now, she did it in her first run. I don't know if the character that they're trying to portray her as a heel where she just can't win her on her own. I want to see Liv, you know, be a heel. I like her being a heel, but I want them to have layers for her as a heel. Yes, she can cheat here and there, but I want her to be more like a Gunther type character in a sense. She's a heel, but she can win on her own without help. Now, if she loses, she loses. And look, Gunther, he's still doing great stuff even as world champion, and he's lost to some big names. He lost to Sami Zayn, he lost to Cody Rhodes, and he's still fine. So it's not to say that if Liv loses, she can't be still over and still be a good champion. Not every champion wins every match. That's just the thing. But my problem with Liv Morgan is the thing: how do you have her lose the last three matches and PLEs of like her reign? She lost at Survivor Series. She took the pin to set up this match, which she lost here. She lost at Bash in Berlin and took the pin there. She lost at Bad Blood, even though Liv was supposed to get the win, but because how everything played out, it ended up being a DQ. So Liv loses again. So now Rhea technically wins four matches in a row. Liv didn't get the upper hand. She had that match against Io, which was a really good match. She proved that she can win on her own. And I want to see them expound upon that. I want them to continue to expound upon that. Now, this is kind of gets somewhat away from the rant and kind of think what maybe is next for her. Now, we know that, I think they're kind of getting away from champions asking for rematches. They haven't really done that in quite some time. I think the only reason why they made a case for Rhea is because she never lost it. But outside of that, if you lose the championship, you don't really get a rematch. You kind of just go to the back of the line. And I don't think with the year Liv has had, she's not going to be in something important. It would be very weird and strange to have the year that she's had, from making it to the final two in the Royal Rumble, making it to the final two in the Chamber, being left off WrestleMania, which is surprising to me, then putting herself back into the headlines by injuring Rhea Ripley, even though it wasn't her fault. It was for storyline and everything like that. Putting herself back in the world title contender, coming up second in the battle royal with Becky, beating Becky, holding that world championship for a while, and then on the first Raw Netflix she drops it, and then there's nothing after that. I feel like there has to be some type of follow up. There has to be. If there's no follow up, it would be just kind of, I wouldn't say weird in a sense, but like, I feel like people think that the story is over, but I think it's not as over as we may think. Maybe that's just me looking at it from a different standpoint, but like, yeah, she did lose, right? And we're heading into Saturday Night Main Event, which is their next show that they're trying to promote. Then after that, it's Royal Rumble, right? So we're pretty much on the road to WrestleMania. With Rhea Ripley winning the championship, her path is pretty much set for WrestleMania. We know that they want her to be the champion going into WrestleMania. We know that they want the biggest stars holding the title on the Raw on Netflix. But like, you have to give credit to Liv Morgan for everything that she's done this past year as champion, and pretty much elevating herself to a new level. I mean, elevating herself in the sense of being a heel, being a champion, being a character, and even her in-ring work as well. And for me as a fan of Liv Morgan, and people, if you guys don't know, I am a fan of Liv Morgan. I've been a fan for quite some time. Um, what does this mean for Liv Morgan? Because I feel like, what do you do? Do you have her go back to being a challenger for Rhea Ripley? Maybe, possibly, but we know she's not gonna probably win it back. I hope she does, but I don't think they will. You don't have Becky in right now. Becky's probably going to be coming in at some point. Charlotte's going to probably be coming in at some point. You're going to probably have those two probably going after Rhea, maybe. Well, I think for Charlotte, I think she's going to go after Tiffany and have that probably be your match at WrestleMania. So what do you do with Becky? Do you have Becky come in and face Rhea? Possibly to have her have another big match? I don't know. Maybe Jordan Grace, but honestly, Jordan Grace, for me, I think they should save that for SummerSlam. So it's like, what do you do? Now, we do know Royal Rumble's coming up. What is the chance of her winning the Royal Rumble this year? She's no longer champion. Her whole thing going into the Survivor Series, I think she said she's, not going to be competing at Royal Rumble because she's champion. But that's no longer the case. She's no longer champion. And I feel like she's probably going to want to enter herself in the Rumble to get herself another opportunity at the title. Now, I think she does win the Rumble. I know it may seem like a stretch to some, or probably not even just to some, but to many, seeing Liv win the Royal Rumble. But hear me out. Like, let me cook for just a quick moment, and you guys can comment down below and tell me how crazy I am, or maybe you think maybe I could be right. Let me know in the comment section down below. But with the Royal Rumble coming up, you could have Liv win, because Charlotte and Becky are at the point they don't need to win the Rumble, or even Chamber for that matter, to get a championship opportunity at WrestleMania. They're pretty much made stars at this point. They have made themselves one of the biggest names in wrestling because of the matches that they've been able to put on, the stories that they were being involved in. So they have made a name for themselves. You look at someone who's like Liv Morgan. Yes, she has had that championship reign, but she's still looking for that moment to solidify who she is and solidify her place in WWE. We are in over 10 years of her being in the WWE, and yes, she's had some great moments. I will not take that from her. She's won the tag team titles. She's won Money in the Bank. She's won the world titles twice. But what big moment has she had to really break through that glass ceiling, to solidify she is in the conversation now? I don't think we've had that moment yet. And I think we need to have that moment. I think for me and a lot of people who are fans of Liv Morgan, we should have that conversation. She needs to win that Royal Rumble. And even if you're not a fan, but you have respect for Liv Morgan, you should understand that she should win the Rumble at some point. I feel like for her, she's destined to win that stipulation type match, that gimmick match. She's destined to. And with her losing it, she could be well on her way to winning it. And people are probably gonna be saying like, well, what makes you think she should win the Rumble? Well, I'm gonna give you a few, tidbits or fun facts, I guess you can say. Usually going into the Royal Rumble, if a wrestler is winning the Royal Rumble, they usually lose a lot of the matches be leading up into that show. They do. They do. And a prime example of that is Bayley. Look at Bayley leading up into the Royal Rumble last year. She lost a lot of matches from Raw to SmackDown. Even title matches that she was having up until that point, lost. She won the Rumble, won the championship at WrestleMania. So I think the same thing could be replicated here. Liv has lost the last 3 pay-per-views, right? She's lost the last 3 pay-per-views. She lost the Rumble last year. She lost the Chamber last year as well. She wasn't on WrestleMania. She lost the Battle Royal. She went through had a title reign, but it wasn't a lot there. She had a great match with Io, right? But outside of that, she's lost a lot last year. Even though we were building her up, she was still losing a lot. And I think you capitalize on all that. And it's been a staple kind of in the women's side of things for the last couple of years, where a wrestler will lose a lot, but go on to win the Royal Rumble match. Now, another thing that I think could be for Liv here is not only does she win the Rumble, possibly, I think she should, but on top of that, maybe she switches brands. I mean, after last night, we saw Dominic kind of look like he left Liv and tried to get back with Rhea. So you might have that story there. You're going to probably have the story between Liv and Finn. Maybe if Finn wins next week, because he has a street fight match with Damian. If Finn wins that, he can gloat about it to Liv and says, well, look what happens when you listen to me. Look what happens when you pay attention to what I've been saying. If you would have done that, you would have beat Rhea Ripley. So he can use that as fuel, maybe to fire up Liv Morgan to go and win that Rumble. And maybe before that, she leaves, or in the road up into her making her decision, she leaves the Judgment Day. She says, I'm tired of all of you. And she goes back on her own. And maybe she stays a heel, goes on her own, leaves Dom, dumps him, maybe just leaves everybody. And then goes on to, play the Edge type of role. Look what Edge did when he won the Royal Rumble in 2021, I believe. Fact check me if I'm wrong. But I think it was 2021. He teased potentially who he could be facing. He teased potentially going after the WWE Championship on Raw. He teased potentially going down to NXT to compete for the NXT championship at WrestleMania. Before, and he even teased some stuff with Roman as well before he made his decision to face Roman at WrestleMania 37, and that ended up being a triple threat that brings him back Becky Lynch. I think if Becky Lynch interjects and gets herself in this whole storyline with Rhea, I think Liv will be in the conversation with those two as well. I think there's one or two different scenarios. All these scenarios can play out the same. Where we get a triple threat? I think the idea is doing Rhea defending the belt against Becky and Liv at WrestleMania. I think that might be the idea they're gonna probably go with. Because if Becky comes back and Becky potentially sets her sights on Rhea, Liv is gonna be very upset about that. She's gonna feel like she said she retired her. Now she's back, and now she's taking a spot from her. And let's be honest, there is bad blood there, no pun intended. Liv was the last person to beat Becky. So Becky's going to still want her pound of flesh on Liv. Liv is going to want her pound of flesh still on Becky for being back and potentially being in her path to getting back to that title. So there's going to be dissension and business there. You still have Rhea Ripley, who's the champion. Liv wants that title back. Becky Lynch wants the title as well. So you have all these different, components colliding in the lead up to WrestleMania. Now, if you do this, there's different ways you can get to this. I say the final two in the Royal Rumble should be Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch. I think the final two should be Liv and Becky. And if you wanted to do a final three, maybe put in Charlotte, because it's very unpredictable. At least people wouldn't be thinking about Liv potentially winning. People would be solely focused on Becky and Charlotte, because those are two of the bigger stars, and they're going to probably be seeing which one of them is going to be going on to WrestleMania, leaving an opening for Liv to capitalize on that and potentially win the match. Now, I think maybe you could do something where, like I said, Liv eliminates Becky to win it, but not clean. She does something sneaky to get another one-up on her and win. So then you have that story where Becky feels slighted that she should have won, but there was interference or something that kind of cost her the match. Then we have something in the lead up to WrestleMania where it looks like we get Liv and Becky one-on-one. Maybe Becky either wins or ends up in a wonky finish that sets up a triple threat at WrestleMania. Now, that is one way I can see it happening, but if you want to have Charlotte, on Raw, they even tease Bayley even being on Raw. So if we're going to have those two on Raw, you're going to need a big person or a big star, I guess, to fill that void on SmackDown. And Liv Morgan could definitely well be that void. Yes, she might not be a Charlotte or Becky, but she's still a made household name in a sense. Have her go over to SmackDown. Maybe she even, like I said, switches brands. She chooses not to go after Rhea. She decides to go over to SmackDown, compete for the title against Tiffany. This gives Tiffany a big name or a bigger name to work with heading into WrestleMania. You can probably do that. You could probably make a big star out of whoever you decide to have going into it. But I think she's probably going to stay on Raw. I think they're going to go with the story of the triple threat route, and probably maybe you can have Liv win it back. Maybe you do have Liv win it back at Mania, and she doesn't pin Becky, not Becky, but she doesn't pin Rhea. She pins Becky to win the match and win the belt back. That is something I can see happening. I can see so many different things happening in her path to WrestleMania. Now, it's very unclear at the moment, at the time of recording this video. But I do think there is a possibility within the next 3 weeks, I believe, from now, at least, until the Royal Rumble. I think we might be having that conversation in about 3 weeks' time that Liv Morgan is your 2025 Women's Royal Rumble winner. I really do. I think you want to probably pull a swerve, maybe. I don't. I see maybe Liv maybe getting a rematch, maybe. But if not, either way, I think she's still winning the Royal Rumble. And I think either if she doesn't win the Rumble, I think she's winning Chamber. Because you also got to understand that she's on a lot of the posters. She's on the Royal Rumble poster. She is on the Elimination Chamber poster, and she's on the WrestleMania poster. If someone's on the poster, they're pretty much having a big match on the show. That's usually how it goes. If you're on the poster, you're doing something big. That's usually what happens. So I do think she's going to be winning either the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber. And maybe if she wins the Chamber, that sets up her getting injected and going into a triple threat. And maybe Becky wins something else. I don't think she should win the Rumble, but if they did, then Liv wins the Chamber, and she could use that. But you can have that be like where Liv, she chose to use her Chamber spot to face for the world title instead of the women's championship, which was supposed to be what that Chamber was for. You could do that. But I think if you want to get the most out of her and get a bigger reception for her and make a bigger moment, it is her win the Rumble. And I think it caps off that story for her having all these Royal Rumble, matches. I think now she's going into another, I think her sixth Royal Rumble, because I think she competed in every Royal Rumble that there's been. She's competed in every Royal Rumble that there's been. And I think she's finally going to do it. I think so. Because now you don't have Rhea Ripley in there. Becky, she might be taken out, but I don't think Becky needs it. Charlotte doesn't need it. So if you take those out of it, Bayley already had her moment. Asuka would be cool, but we already seen it. And all these were victories. Jordynne Grace would be cool, but I think they save that for down the line or something like that. So if you take that out aside, who do you have? I mean, yeah, you could say Bianca. Bianca has her stuff with Jade Cargill. And that kind of seems the same thing for Naomi as well. So if you take all that out, who do you really have? You have Liv Morgan. And I think, taking that into account, I think Liv will win that Royal Rumble and punch her ticket and point at the sign and be declared your Women's Royal Rumble winner and headed into WrestleMania 41. But comment down below, let me know, what do you guys think is next for Liv Morgan after losing last night on Monday Night Raw? Do you think she goes to another brand? Do you think she goes over to SmackDown and does something over there? Because I think she's going to be in a world title match. I can see her doing the IC or US possibly, and I would be okay with that. But I think she's going to be in a world title picture come WrestleMania. But comment down below, let me know, what do you guys think is next? Do you see her going to SmackDown? Do you see her winning the Rumble or Chamber with her being on the posters? What do you guys think she does at WrestleMania if she is going to be on WrestleMania? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Road to 500 subscribers. We're getting closer to that milestone. So let's get to that milestone by the end of the month. I know we can do it. But with that being said, hope everybody has a great day, a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.